Hey, when we film photographers, when we try to explain our craft to somebody else, we often use big words. We talk about slow process and think before you shoot. And at least I feel like I can't get my message through. Like it doesn't really resonate. And it shouldn't. Like first of all, I don't owe an explanation to anybody. I don't need to explain myself and why I shoot on film. And they don't need to understand that. That's not that important. But what is important, I think, is to realize that the process you use affects the final pictures. It's like in any art, if I go and record your band playing in the club, and then I take you, the same musicians and the same song, and we record you in the recording studio, the final result is staggeringly different. The same goes with photography. Two processes, different processes, produce different outcome. So instead of using those big words, I thought, let me walk you through my process and let's take one single picture as an example. How did I come up with that picture? What kind of process did I go through? We went to Estonia the other week and I made already a video about that. I put a link up there, so if you are interested in the trip, you can watch that. Here we're going to talk about one picture from that trip. How did I create that picture? Now my photo session started well before the trip. I went online and did some research. I looked at the possible photo locations. I also looked at the weather forecast. And it's a winter time, so I got all those ingredients and I decided that I will probably shoot some snowy landscape, some old oak trees, and architecture. There should be interesting castles and mansions and also ugly Soviet architecture. So first I decided I'm going to take my Rolleiflex with me, and into my Rolleiflex I'm going to put some Ilford FP4 film and I'm going to develop it with Adox XT3. This is an Extol copy. I always choose the film and the developer together. I mean, the developer is even more impactful for the final result, like has a bigger meaning than the film. But this combination should give me a possibility to control the depth of field, fast lens, slow film, and get really creamy and nice pictures with this combination. Beautiful stuff. And in the other end, I'm gonna take my favorite tourist camera, Lomo LCA 120, which is automatic and it doesn't allow me to control the aperture or the time, and hardly even the focus. It's just a rudimentary thingy that I estimate. So no point of trying to make anything too fancy. For that I choose an Ilford HP5 Plus and I will develop it with Rodinal. This combination should give me a fast tool with really punchy and grainy and almost aggressive look. So this is for Soviet suburbs, I guess then. Hey, so then we go to a photo session and I already have made these selections. And in the photo session I don't look at things like there's a castle, how could I make the best photograph out of that castle? My thinking is the other way around. I'm looking at things through these lenses. What would that scenery look like through my Rolleiflex and FP4? What would that thing look like with my Lomo and Rodinal? It's the other way around. I also don't think about the subject so much. I don't think about that building is awesome. How can I make a picture out of that? I'm thinking about more like I want to create a photograph out of there. It has that building in, but what kind of photograph would be nice? You know, it's the artifact that comes first, not the subject. Photograph comes first, not the subject. Yeah, I probably lost you already, but that's kind of important for me. I also, now that I'm shooting, I shoot a lot of pictures. I took 9 rolls during those 3 days. So I'm not one of your slow, thoughtful film photographer. I shoot aimlessly around and I hate everything that would slow me down. I don't like tripods because they make my photos rigid. and stiff. That's a process issue. I don't like to carefully measure the light. I use just a phone or estimate because that speeds me up. So I take pictures, I look at my surroundings through these lenses. I don't spend time watching the back of my camera. I don't have that, like I can't scroll the pictures through. So that's an extra benefit. I observe things. I take pictures. I don't see any of them. Anticipation. Then I come home and I start to develop the pictures. That's the next phase of my process. In that phase, the only thing that I can do is I can screw up things. This is the most mechanical, there's no creative part. It's almost like Zen moment for me, this development. It's like I'm going through this ritual, let me not screw it up. And for some weird reason, I enjoy that phase tremendously. I make myself a new batch of developer because this was an important photo session. I can make 12 rolls of film with X-T3. And then for Rodinal, I always make a new developer for each and every film, so this is a little bit different. I measure the mixture carefully, I measure the temperature, I measure the time. Unlike in my photo session, now I'm taking slow because I don't want to screw this up. After development, I wash the film and then I pull it out from the spiral. I see the pictures for the first time. I carefully verify that the developer that I just mixed is okay. I still have juice in my fixer and the pictures look nice. I hang them to dry. And then next day when they are dry, I go and scan the pictures. Yeah, I do that. I scan the pictures and while I'm scanning them, I'm putting some metadata on each and every picture file. It's my bookkeeping mechanism. These don't store any metadata. So I write down the camera, the lens, the film, the developer, and the location. And then I put that same information or link information to my film sheet so that I can then find the right film just by browsing and searching my data library on my computer. So it's a bookkeeping. I also, some of the pictures, I take them to Lightroom and I make them ready for it's Instagram or something else. So I also have this digital sidetrack in my process. But here then, I select one picture for further development, for printing. And I choose this picture which has an old oak tree, some snowy field, and then an interesting cloudy sky. And for that picture I have a plan. I want to make the snow white but yet nuanced. And I want to make the oak tree really powerful and punchy. And I want to make the sky sort of disappear to the distance, melt away. This is my plan. And then I set up my darkroom. And for that plan, I select my paper. The paper will be Prom 111. Now this is a fiber-based paper. And it's more organic, and I believe that I can get the snow really alive without making it too white. But really make it look like snow. And then, being a glossy paper, I can hopefully make the tree branches and trunk really pop. And to further amplify the soft and the hard pop on the same picture, I decided to use split printing, where I put two different contrasts on top of each other. First, I expose the paper with very low contrast light. That allows me to invite all the shades and nuances from the negative. Get the snow and clouds alive. But then if that was the only thing I would do, the tree would remain sort of uninteresting, less powerful. So then on top of the picture I put some really hard contrasty light to invite this aggressiveness from the tree. Now I'm using big words. And then I use some dodging to make the sky melt away. This all I write down to my notebook. So the next time I'm making the picture, I can hopefully make something fairly similar.
Now, Ansela Adam calls this a dance. It includes actually physical movements when you dodge and burn and you do all those kind of things. So there's no way I could make a similar print twice. Each and every print is slightly different. I can get pretty close with my notes, but not quite there. Which further excites me in analog working process. No two prints are alike. So then after I've developed and printed my pictures, I hang them to dry, and then I have my prints. I made 2 prints this time. They are almost the same, but not quite. I actually did a little bit more dodging here than in this picture, so kind of like this one better. But hey, so this is the final image now. So how did my process affect that? At least a few points I can think of. First of all, the fact that I've selected my tools in advance and I've intentionally limited my options forced me to focus on certain subjects. And I always looked at my surroundings through these classes, through these alternatives point of view. So I ended up shooting this because of these tools. I knew that I can make the snow look good, and I knew that I can make the tree look good. Also, the fact that I used fairly fast process in shooting film allows me to stop the car in the middle of the road. Yeah, in the middle of the road, making sure there are no cars going and coming. Leaving it on, hopping out from the car, saying nothing to my wife, shooting this picture, coming back to the car and driving forward. It took me probably like 20 seconds to take this picture. It gives me these possibilities, this fast process to take these pictures. Also, how I printed it, I mean, the fact that it is a physical print, it's really valuable to me. And I wanted to spend time in my darkroom to make it look exactly the way I want it. I made 3 or 4 prints that I threw to the wastebasket because I didn't like that. So that attention to the final print and that time spent in the darkroom, that I also believe that it shows in the final picture. Yeah, I'm not saying that my process is any better than somebody else's. All I'm saying is that these phases, these selections, the way I conduct my photography affects the final prints. And I strongly believe that somebody else would make different kind of pictures from the same location, or they wouldn't go into these locations in the first place. And then they would do a whole process differently and come up with a different picture. And that, I think, is important to recognize. So it's not important what kind of process you have, but what is important is that does it suit to what you want to do, and do you enjoy it? I do. Hey, thanks for watching. It was this time this and next time something else. See you around.